Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are excited to have Stephanie Korchynski joining us once again to talk more about the work she's doing as a certified Canadian counselor. Inner Strength Counselling and Wellness is the name of the company, and she joins us back here live today. How are you?
Good. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. How was your holiday, by the way?
Not too bad, busy with family gatherings and stuff like that. But overall, it was very enjoyable. Got to see a lot of people I haven't seen in a while. So, how was your holiday?
Great. 6 and 8-year-old were surprised, but Santa got to see the family. So still on that type of holiday high. And but then it brings us to New Year's, and then it could be a holiday lull, which we'll get to. Stephanie, first and foremost, tell us a little bit about what you do. And of course, let's find out your website and how we can contact you.
For sure. So, I'm a Canadian certified counselor. I'm in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. And yeah, I create, individual counseling plans for youth, adults. I also do some couples counseling. But of course, a big one, this time of year is self-improvement and sort of those New Year's resolutions that everybody's sort of talking about right now. My website is innerstrengthcw.com, and my email address, if you'd like to contact me, is innerstrengthcw@gmail.com, or my Instagram handle at innerstrengthcw.
All right. So first and foremost, do you make or do you believe in New Year's resolutions? There's always debate over this. So tell me your take on it.
Yeah, I think honestly, New Year's resolutions can be a really great way to accomplish goals, certain aspects of your life that you want to improve, or, you just want to feel better about yourself. Maybe
Yeah.
it's through a fitness routine or just having a more positive mindset. But I find, yeah, a lot of people, they just don't have an action plan moving forward and sort of never reach, some of those resolutions that they set for themselves. I've certainly been in that position where, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the gym 7 days a week and I'm just
Same.
gonna, lose weight to get healthy and all these things. And but it takes a lot more than just kind of creating that resolution. It's coming up with a plan as well, right?
Yeah, but that's why all the gym sales and memberships are really cheap for that New Year's special. Join the gym, $5 a month, because they know they're going to lose you.
Yep,
Most people,
100%.
but not all. Let's be positive about this because we can make an action plan, and that's something you can help with. So talk to us about the type of plan that needs to be put into effect to commit to and to make something happen, make a change happen.
100%. So, I mean, we always take a look at the behavioral change model, right? It's one thing where you want to make a change and you're like, yeah, I'm going to have this New Year's resolution, but are you ready for that change at that point in time, right? A lot of people think, okay, January 1st, this is the perfect time to kind of create that new habit or new routine, right? But as a therapist, we sort of look at where are you at in that behavioral change, right? And so that comes from, a very, very old model. It's the behavioral change model, and it goes in various different steps, okay? And so pre-contemplation is usually the first stage. So I like to kind of use, a weight loss example for this to explain it a little bit better. But essentially, pre-contemplation takes a look at, okay, you put on your pair of pants, right? And you're like, oh, you know what? My pants isn't fitting right now, And then it's like, okay, I'm going to go to the store and get a bigger size pants. Like you're not even thinking about like creating that change at that point in time, right? The next stage is contemplation. So contemplation is like you put on those pants and you're like, oh, it's a little bit tight, maybe I need to make a change or something. I need to do something in order to help with this. Then you go into the determination phase. So this is sort of doing your research, your planning, maybe you're making some SMART goals, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, you're kind of looking at all the different options. It's like, do I need a gym membership? Is it nutrition that I need to work on? What is it that I need to do in order to, have maybe a looser pant size or something? Then we go into the action phase. So this is where you're going to be actually going to the gym. You're already starting to make some of those lifestyle changes and stuff like that. And then we get into a maintenance phase where it just becomes a routine. It's part of your lifestyle. You're doing these things all the time, right? It becomes second nature. It's essentially
Hmm.
a part of you, right? But of course, at any point in this behavioral change model, you could relapse going back to, sitting on the couch, maybe watching your favorite movie because you're comfortable, right? You start dropping off from the gym and all those pieces. So that's what we're really going to get into today is how to make you a lot more successful in maintaining this change overall and sticking to some of your resolutions.
All right. Well, we want to know the magic answer. Is it really one answer? It takes a lot on our, it's accountability too. Yeah. I wish it was so easy, but it's more about
Yeah,
mindset, right? You have to help someone change their mindset.
100%. We talk about motivation a lot, in society, and kind of the two common forms of motivation are that intrinsic and extrinsic motivation factors, right? So intrinsic is those internal motivational cues. So it's like knowing that you're going to feel better. You might have like increased cardio. You just feel better about yourself. Maybe it's a change in positive mindset or even just creating that purpose and that knowledge about yourself can be intrinsic motivation enough to continue pushing forward. Then we have external motivational factors. So maybe it is seeing that weight loss or somebody compliments you. Oh, wow, like you look like you've lost weight or you look better, you look really good, right? Or another person saying, oh, hey, you seem a lot more positive, you seem more happy, right? So kind of knowing like about these motivational factors is really key into understanding motivation itself, right? But one of the things that I always talk about is evaluate where you are now and where you want to be. It's doing that self-reflection is really going to help you understand, okay, you know what? I'm in a good spot in my life. This is a good time for me to make this change. And this is what I want to do moving forward, right? So we kind of take a look at habits, relationships, career journey, traits that we might take a look at as our ideal self currently today, right? So we want to make a list, right? And step away from it for a day and then revisit it later, right? Because we want to make sure that, the things that we're writing down isn't just reactionary to what society wants us to do, right? Are you satisfied with what you've written down? Are these things going to still come true? What would you like to see for yourself, right? So it's honestly a great idea to write some of these things down, reevaluate, and then work on it some more before you make that commitment to something that you'd want to change or, maybe create a New Year's resolution plan, so to speak, right?
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, I like this. I like this because I like writing it down. By the way, you mentioned something. Some people put things in their phone. I need to see it. Excuse me. For example, I put Post-its up in front of
Ah,
me
yes.
in order to see stuff. Like I had to do something to file a permit. I had to make sure you go home, clean the house, make sure you email the attorney. Like I have to, I'm visual. I have to see it because everyone's different, right? Some people can work by that. Some people put it in their phone, but I just need to see it. And I know I can pull it off that wall when I'm done with the task. That makes me feel better. But there's so many different ways, and it depends how everybody is, who I guess how everybody learns because it's different.
100%. Oh, I love making lists. And plus, also, too, writing it down just makes it that more concrete. You can really start to visualize it. The next tip that I usually get people to take a look at is, okay, so you want to be more healthy, but what does healthy look like for you, right? Is it taking vitamins daily? Is it working out 3 times a week? Is it adding more vegetables into your diet, right? So, kind of creating this step and action plan moving towards whatever that ideal healthy version is what you want to include in your action plan moving forward. How are you going to accomplish this? What sort of vitamins are you going to be taking? Like, I always go into great detail when people want to certainly take a look at, okay, I want to be healthier or I want to change my mindset. Well, what does a positive mindset look like to you? What does gratitude look like to you? Right? Asking these questions, it's just going to make it a lot more easier to understand what you'd like to accomplish for the new year itself. The next thing that I usually like to talk about is consider the necessary steps it would take to make them more manageable and reachable. Okay. Oftentimes we'll chew off a little bit more than what we can handle. The big one that I often hear, especially coming from a fitness perspective, is I want to lose 50 pounds in 2 months, right? Probably not the most manageable thing. And honestly, we have to consider, okay, what is realistic and what is going to be manageable? So I always ask people when we're starting a behavioral activation, so including things that try to keep us motivated and stuff like that, is, okay, do you think going to the gym for an hour 3 times a week works with your schedule? Do you think that's a reachable and attainable goal for yourself? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And if a person says, hey, you know what, 3 hours a week, oh my gosh, that's way too much for my schedule. Okay, well,
Mm-hmm.
what is manageable? Right? Is it 15 minutes, 3 times a week? Right? Is it half an hour 3 times a week? Or maybe it's just getting your foot in the door at the gym to make you feel a little bit more comfortable with creating that routine and creating that habit change. So these are the things that, people really need to consider, like what is going to be too overwhelming and what's going to be just enough to keep you within that routine and keep you motivated to keep going, right? Also, too, in terms of small successes, right? I talked about a little bit about that intrinsic motivation. If you can get to the gym 3 times a week at 15 minutes a week, well, that's a successful week in your books, right? Maybe for somebody else, it's going 5 days a week, or maybe it's including vegetables in your diet every single meal for that week. So, creating those small successes will also contribute to that motivational piece intrinsically and not extrinsically. Now, the next thing that I often hear quite a bit is, okay, Steph, well, I want to get healthy. I want to improve my finances. I want to change habits. I want to create a new routine. I want to do all these things. And I've been guilty of it too, where it's like, okay, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to get this going. I want to start this project. I want to do this. But don't overdo it with the amount of resolutions you set for yourself because the brain can only handle so many things and changes in your routine itself. It's best to start slow. I usually suggest, okay, maybe one at most, but if you really want to set additional goals for yourself, maybe two or three at the most, right? Just because your brain, yeah, tends to get a little bit overwhelmed and you're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, but I said I was going to include vegetables in my diet, and I said I was going to do this, and I said I was going to do that. I'm training for a half marathon. And it's like, oh, okay, whoa. Let's slow down a little bit here and focus in on one resolution so that you can create a really good action plan that you can follow, right? Once again, I've certainly been guilty of this. I put way too much
All
on
of
my
us have.
shoulders,
Yep.
100%, right? And when I was younger and I didn't understand, like so much on my plate was going to just create this overwhelming feeling. But it's best to focus in on a couple of things instead of having a long list of 10 things that you want to change for the new year. The next thing is, I talked a little bit about smart goal planning, right? So what are short-term and long-term goals, right? So I talked a little bit about those little successes, right? So those are sort of those short-term goals that keeps us motivated for the long term, right? So take a look at, what do you want to accomplish in your first month? What do you want to accomplish in your second month? And then overall, what is your long-term goal? Maybe it's a year from now. What do you want to see your body look like? Or how do you want to feel? Or how do you want to change your mindset, right? But ensuring that you have short-term and long-term goals and writing out your resolutions, to create a full picture of everything you're hoping to do and change during the year will help you create everlasting motivation in keeping and sticking to that New Year's resolution as well.
Yeah. And
This
at
is
this
kind of,
time, I'm sorry, reminders,
oh,
Inner
no, no,
Strength,
no worries.
CW.com, Inner Strength Counseling and Wellness. If you do want to reach out, I just want to point out all forms of contact before we continue. And you offer a 15-minute discovery call, right?
I do, yeah. So 15-minute phone call, people can chat about like what their needs and goals are for counseling. I go into a little bit about my background, and this is just to ensure that we're a good fit for each other. So,
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. And on this path of bettering ourselves, I don't know if that's a word, but to make ourselves better, I guess I like bettering. For the new year, a lot of people have different goals, and it's not just weight loss. It's could be job wise, right? It could be parenting goals. It could be changing habits and smoking or drinking and eating healthier and one of mine is make sure I clean the house and organize better because that's something I've struggled with for years. I have a very hard time with organization and I always try and I always fail. And this year, what am I doing wrong? Right? I mean, you might say, well, you're clearly not following an action plan. I'm not, I never do. So, how do you, now, if you're working with you as a coach, what is the accountability factor? How often are you checking in with someone? And I like the fact that you're also there because um, I feel like I'd have to perform. Do you know what I'm saying? Like because here we are working with
yeah,
someone
fair.
who's trying to help me. I better do this. I'm using my hard-earned money because I'm committing to this year. So yeah, what would you say to that?
Yeah, like honestly, that's one of like my biggest tips for people is having a good support circle around you, whatever you'd like to change. Maybe it's improving your relationships, maybe it's experiencing new things, maybe it's creating, better wellness for yourself overall, like both physically and mentally. I usually check in, like if somebody's coming to see me on a weekly basis, yeah, we do a quick check-in at the beginning of the session to see, okay, how things are going. But I also encourage people, write on Facebook what your New Year's resolution is. Like create, a good support network online. I mean, we're in today's world where social media can certainly be very, very positive for a lot of people. If you're looking to make a big change, maybe I want to improve my organization for this year or something like that. Honestly, we can go out and reach out to our support networks on Facebook, on Instagram, create, those accountability factors for ourselves. Tell our friends or family members and stuff like that. A lot of people, they're just like, oh, well, I don't want to involve people in my business or anything like that. But honestly, it's such a good idea to include that accountability factor from other people that are like, "Oh, hey, look at what she's doing. Look at what she's created. Look at she's going on her journey," right? I really love support groups for that piece because you certainly have other people, in your corner cheering for you and making sure that you're accomplishing the goals that you want to do. One of the things that I always, let people know, a lot of research has shown that it takes about 66 days to create a habit.
Oh,
So,
really? 66 days.
yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah, about 66 days, right? Of course, some people will do it sooner, some people take a little bit longer, but on average, it takes about 66 days to create a habit. So just knowing that, yeah, it's going to be a couple months before it really creates a new habit or routine for yourself. Um, Honestly, you need to be patient with yourself. You don't have to force yourself to do anything that you don't want to do, but making sure that you're patient with yourself and hiccups are going to come along the way or challenges or barriers, right? That might prevent us from, completing a resolution or creating a new routine for ourselves, right? Now, you asked a little bit about, checking in, right?
Yeah.
So I usually check in with my clients, like I said, once a week. If they're seeing me weekly, bi-weekly, if that's something that they want me to make sure that they're being held accountable for, or just needing some extra support or something, I usually just do a little quick check-in at the beginning of the session. But even for, a person that I'm helping through with creating new habits and routines is I get them to reevaluate and reflect on their New Year's resolutions after a few months in. Like, check to see, okay, did you make your goals that you wanted to create? Are you at, where you'd like to be from, the beginning of setting this new routine and plan for yourself? What barriers, came in that prevented you from maybe getting to that point? But having that little bit of self-reflection, that little bit of evaluation, in a few months in, really creates that accountability for yourself, right?
Hmm.
And not just getting it from other people or social support networks, right? So taking a look at, okay, how can I maybe change my plan so that I can be more successful, right? And how do I maybe get around certain barriers that might be keep popping up along the way? Maybe it's a busy schedule. You can't get to the gym all the time, right? So how can you maybe do an at-home workout? Maybe with finances, maybe you have to adjust your budgeting to help you create a better financial plan for yourself. Maybe with relationships, it's taking a look how you can improve communication skills, or maybe it's going to social groups or different activities to meet new people if that's a goal of yours, right? But always reflecting and reevaluating after a couple months just to see, okay, where can I make adjustments? Where can I create a better plan for myself? And how to reduce some of those barriers that might be affecting us from accomplishing our goals along the way.
Beautiful. Well, you mentioned not everybody's journey is alike. And so it's really customized and specific to you. How long does it take to get to know the person? Because you got to get to know their ins and their outs and their, right, the way they operate. So getting to know someone, how long does it take in the initial process of, really understanding that person's needs? And because their needs could be different from what they're telling you.
Yeah, I mean, once again, it depends on the person. I'll often have people take a few sessions before they open up to me and really get to sort of the root cause of whatever's affecting them. Maybe it's some trauma that they experienced. Learning about the person in general certainly can take a couple of weeks. It's all part of the therapeutic process and building trust and rapport with somebody. Some people on the first session, things just go in extremely, extremely well. I could talk to somebody for, a couple of hours just because, they just open up about everything. Right. So it really depends on the person and who I'm talking with and just how well the conversation's flowing. I also have to take into consideration that I'm certainly a stranger. The person coming into my office, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to open up about all these aspects about my life. And I don't even know this person. Like, how is
Yeah,
she
it
going to
could be
react and
embarrassing,
respond?
intimidating. Yeah.
100%. So, I always try to make a very comfortable, very non-judgmental sort of environment for my clients to come in. I try to be super personable so that they can really just connect with me overall on a more human-based level, right? I don't like to create a hierarchy with my clients. You're talking to me like I'm a person. I want people to view me as a person first and not a therapist. Yes, I'm there to provide you with guidance and therapeutic support, but at the end of the day, I want to make sure that we're just having a natural conversation so that you feel comfortable opening up to me and so that I can best support you in the needs that you came to, for me for counseling for, right?
Yeah. And also, you are a certified personal trainer too, right?
I am, yes,
Just
yes.
thinking about the
So,
weight loss aspect. Hold on, that's another thing that you also give. So when someone's making a New Year resolution to lose weight, you really have the expertise in that field too, let alone the mental counseling and wellness side, but also the physical aspect too.
oh, 100%. It certainly it goes hand in hand, especially too if weight loss, is a big goal for yourself for this upcoming year. Fitness and mental health certainly go hand in hand. You want to be mentally great and you want to make sure that you have those good positive motivational factors, right? That keep you motivated, in your weight loss or nutritional goals or just maybe physically feeling better. Maybe you want to walk up the stairs without getting out of breath. Maybe you just want to have a stronger core that makes you pain free, help with joint pain or something, right? So all of that, certainly requires, the physical component, but also to the mental health aspect and making sure you're in a good positive space and that you're doing the New Year's resolution for yourself and not for anybody else, right? You want to be creating those changes that
Hmm.
are going to be beneficial for you and make you feel good at the end of the day.
Yay. Well, thank you so much. And remind us now how we can work with you. Also, there's other modalities that you're doing, the CBT, the DBT, the art therapy. There's a lot to her. I know we focused today on kind of New Year's resolutions, which is great. Great topic because we're here and it's just a few days away. So how can someone reach out to you if they want that initial discovery call?
Yeah, so you can certainly go to my website, innerstrengthcw.com. There's a contact form there. You can certainly send me an email at innerstrengthcw@gmail.com, or you can reach out through my Instagram page at innerstrengthcw is the handle there. So
Perfect. Thank you so much. And do you have a New Year's resolution? Just curious.
yeah, honestly, what I just want for myself is to be happy, healthy, and being able to um, sort of wake up out of bed without low back pain because that's been plaguing me a little bit. So I've been focusing a lot on functional fitness.
All right, good. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you back and looking forward to the next time we connect. And I will see you in the new year, right?
Okay,
That
take
cheesy
care. Have a
line.
great new year.
You too, sweetheart. Thank you so much. And to all of our listeners, please stay tuned. Don't forget innerstrengthcw.com and have a fantastic day and a very happy, healthy new year.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.